Good morning, IB history students. Today we're going to focus on how the map changed from prior to the unification movements of the middle of the 19th century and the effects it would have on Europe. So here you see a map of Europe post-Napoleon. At the Congress of Vienna, they made a number of challenging decisions on what the map would look like. When Napoleon was in power, the French controlled this region right here, which is Poland, but was renamed the Grand Duchy of Warsaw. At the Congress of Vienna, they had to make several difficult decisions, and one was what to do with this area in particular, because it borders three major powers: Russia, Prussia, and Austria. And Poland itself was eventually divided in multiple ways. Half went to Russia, a part went to Prussia, and even a part went to Austria. So we see some challenging events take place. Those decisions, as we learn, ignored one of the rising ideologies that we've been learning about, and that is nationalism. So Polish people who were beginning to identify as as an ethnicity and were demanding a nation of their own certainly weren't pleased that they were divided in multiple ways. Same was true in Italy, where the northern part of Italy here, Venetia and Lombardy, end up in the Austrian Empire. There were, um, for example, French speakers on the border of France and what is today Germany that were then part of Prussia. So it was a complicated thing, but you can see that the map was dominated by a few places, and also note that the Ottoman Empire still had a strong hold in Europe. As the Ottomans declined, it created a power uh, vacuum in the Balkans. And as the Ottomans declined, the question was, well, what's going to replace it? So that's what the map looked like in 1815. Now, here's what it looks like post unifications. You can see that all those little German duchies and kingdoms no longer exist. Prussia no longer exists because Prussia united the majority of the German speaking people under it. And they did so by winning three wars, two of them major conflicts. The first in 1866 over Austria. You'll also notice that Austria was forced to become a dual monarchy with Austria Hungary and lost control of all of the Italian states as a result of that conflict. So Germany unites and becomes incredibly powerful as a result of it. Italy unifies itself, unifies the nine regions that had been separating Italy for hundreds and hundreds of years and was unified for the first time since the Roman Empire. Probably the most significant thing to mention in this map is the conflict that is clearly forming between France and Germany. Because at the end of German unification, the Germans defeated the French in the Franco Prussian War. After the Franco Prussian War, Prussians, who were German, occupied Paris. And they occupied Paris until all of the things that they were demanding were met. At the same time, they would crown Wilhelm I, who was King of Prussia. He was crowned the Emperor of all of Germany in a place that would deeply offend the French, and that was at the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles. Um, the Germans also demanded reparations, and they also took some territory on the border of Alsace and Lorraine. So Alsace and Lorraine became part of the German Empire. All of these things, all of these events, as nationalism was rising, would lead to significant conflict between these countries. And I'll just show you what the map will look like in 1914 because that changes dramatically and it reflects some of these ideological movements that were happening, particularly nationalism. So if we look at what it looks like in 1914 now, it's different. If you notice, particularly, I guess the map isn't perfect here, but you can see at the bottom here that the Austro-Hungarian Empire is split up into multiple, and as the Ottomans declined, into multiple states. You have Albania and Serbia, and this and Bulgaria. You see here, this was the result of the decline of the Ottomans and the establishment of those independent nationalities in that region, which wouldn't last very long.